Namaste and welcome. I'm Sushmita, but you can call me Sushi. And in this video, we're going to look at how to set up your sanctuary at home so that you have a consistent yoga practice. Now, I'm going to give you 15 steps today, and they're all in a checklist. But I want you just to understand that getting on the mat and practicing on your own is a hard thing to do. You need some structure, you need a list of things that has to be done before you can step on the mat so that you don't get distracted as you're practicing. And consistency is the cornerstone of any successful yoga practice. So whether you're just starting out and you're trying to build this routine, or you're a seasoned practitioner and you've been practicing for years, how you prepare your environment can make or break this commitment that you have for yourself. So let's go over the 15 practical steps, and I'm going to help you overcome the most common barriers to showing up for yourself. The first one is just to clean your room. Now, your immediate environment has this profound impact on your mental state and the quality of your practice. So if you have a cluttered space, then of course you're going to feel like you've got a cluttered mind, and it's going to be really difficult for you to focus on your practice. If your bed isn't made, if you've got this pile of laundry in the corner, it's going to be really hard to create the space for yourself, and the visual chaos will just keep you from practicing slowly and quietly with yourself. So number one is the physical benefits. A clean room provides this physical space to move freely, breathe deeply, and fully express without things like you're going to knock off a water bottle, or you're going to, have some kids' toys that you're going to squeak if you go over to the left with your leg. I want you just to think of a clean room as this first starting point to signal to yourself that you're no longer in a cluttered space, that you're moving towards a space where you're quiet, you're calm, and this starts with just removing the visual chaos. So when you can remove the visual chaos, I promise you, you'll be able to drop more and more quickly into a focused and present state. And this is what we want to achieve. We want to have intention, and we want to make sure that the time that we do have on the mat is used wisely. We have as much presence as possible when we're practicing, so that our practice actually creates this ripple effect in the rest of our lives. So just before you start practicing, even 5 minutes, tidy up your room before you practice and notice what a significant difference it makes. And if you can't tidy up your room, or it feels like too much chaos, go outside, practice in a park, go to your balcony, wherever you have the space where you're either just in nature, and nature, even though it's messy and complicated, it's much, much more easy to focus in an environment that isn't cluttered. The next step is to actually clean your mat. And the reason I say this is because even though we might own mats that are 5 years old and they rolled up in a corner, your mat is kind of like the thing that you have to practice on. It is this rectangular piece of cloth or rubber, whatever your mat is made out of. And that's the thing that's going to be your home. That's going to hold all the emotions that come up in your practice. So keeping it clean isn't about hygiene. It's about this Sanskrit word called saucha, which just means it's about cleanliness. This respect that you have for your practice and yourself, and making sure that whatever you're practicing on can actually, you'll feel like practicing if your mat isn't full of dog hair or dirt, or just, if you've been practicing outside and it has muck on it. You have to have this respect and the sense that this is your mat. This is a thing that you're coming home to on. So don't neglect, just getting a mat cleaner. You do have a whole range of mat cleaners that you can find on Amazon, on Take-A-Lot, on wherever you buy your things from. But a gentle mat cleaner is a very useful investment, because you'll see the sense of respect towards your mat and towards yourself as you start to clean that rectangular piece of rubber or cloth that is serving you for the 60 minutes every morning. So wipe it down after you practice, roll it up and put it away after you practice. Don't just leave it out there. A clean mat feels like a fresh start. So each practice session, just make sure you're wiping down your mat quickly, even if it's just water and a cloth, Because symbolically, it's like you're wiping away all your previous efforts and you're creating space. You're creating this clean, blank slate. So make sure that you clean your mat. Make sure that you have a solution on hand. If you don't have one, go ahead and buy one. And every month or every 2 months, you'll see when your mat is getting dirty. Go for a full wash down. So go into your shower or your bathtub, allow it to soak, put a little bit of solution and leave it be, and then scrub it down with a really, really gentle mat brush, and then you can leave it out to hang in the sun. And this is what I do on a Sunday when I've done my oil bath. Then one of the things that I do is just to clean out my mat and put it out. If you live in a warm country, you can get it dried in a day or two. But if you don't, then make sure that you're airing it out sufficiently before you roll it up, because then, you might get fungus on it. I've had mats that I've had to throw away because of the same reason. So that's enough about cleaning your mat. Just remember, clean your mat regularly, even if it's just water, and then once a month or once in 2 months, wash it down properly. The next step is to purify your space. Now, your space is not just the room you're practicing in, it's the aura of the room that you're in. And purifying your space can be with incense or with a Havan cup. These are all small things that you light up that change not just the smell, but it kind of changes the environment from something that's just mundane to something that's sacred. And this is important because you're creating this shift in your mind to say, oh wow, this is not just any other activity I'm doing. This is an important activity that I've chosen to do for myself. This is signaling to your mind that this is the time that you're giving to yourself. So you can use incense or essential oils or any of these traditional purifiers like sandalwood or sage or Palo Santo. I know if you go to any grocery store, I'm sure you'll be able to find incense or essential oils. You don't have to go all out. All you have to do is ensure that it creates the shift in your mind. It's not just any other ordinary activity. This is something that you're doing as a sacred prayer, as a routine that's taking you away from your regular, normal daily life to something sacred. So by introducing these meaningful symbols like candles and incense sticks and any gods or pictures or stones, whatever religious items you can put on an altar, this is what will really help you practice to something higher, and not just for a toned body or not just for looking a certain way. This turns the practice into a ritual, into a prayer, into something that you do to really elevate your energy and vibration. So light a candle. This lit candle is actually just a symbol of awareness. It helps us focus our attention and our intention. And before I start my practice, I always light my oil lamp. An oil lamp is a very, very inexpensive way to do this. You don't have to buy expensive, nice smelling candles. You can buy a good old oil lamp. Buy cooking oil, even if you can't find lamp oil. Use a wick. This you can buy in bulk online, and then just keep lighting it. And this introduces this sense of just awareness and intention to concentrate your energy while you're practicing. Whenever your eyes wander, also you can place candles in different parts of the room so that as your eyes wander, they're actually going to another thing that focuses them rather than distracting into, maybe your phone or something else. So light a candle, light some incense, and place some object that's meaningful to you. Maybe you're practicing to your higher self and you don't have a belief in God or anything, that's also fine. Just make sure that you have some symbol, maybe it's even a feather or some symbol of something that's meaningful to you that can elevate your energy, that can transform your space into this personal sanctuary. And I like to practice in the same space just so that the Shakti of the Shala or the Shakti of the room starts to grow with time. So anytime I enter that room, my mind makes this association between a clean, pure space to I'm going to be able to practice easily. So this is really important. Purify your space before you start. All sorts of people might have been walking into your living room. So make sure when you start your practice, you light an incense, you light a candle, and you actually look at some meaningful object that's in your vicinity. So when you're practicing, it feels like you're practicing for something sacred, not just something mundane. Step number 4 is to curate your soundscape. Now, this is really personal choice. Some people like to practice in absolute silence, but if you're here, you probably have a busy mind, a mind that struggles to sit in silence and do nothing. So here's my recommended approach. Now, I'm not saying like you need to play a different like Spotify playlist, because then you're going to be like worried about, okay, I need to change the music. I want you to play a single repetitive chant to anchor your awareness. Now, if you find a chant that you like, you can even just loop it on Spotify or find something on YouTube that says 1 hour chant. Then you can put that on for an hour and you know, okay, I'm going to be practicing to the same repetitive chant, and that's what's going to anchor my awareness. So the only strict rule that I have for you is that you must use an instrumental track. So it should be non-verbal, and the background music can be ambient, classical, even just sounds of nature, whatever you choose, but it can't have words that will distract you into what is the meaning of the song, or it can't take you away from the simplicity of the practice. So binaural beats are a great idea, singing bowls for like at the end when you're doing Shavasana and you're transitioning into a really slow, soft, like you're trying just to relax, that's a great idea. But whatever you choose, consistency in your sound environment is what really helps train your brain to recognize that, okay, it's time to practice. And as you can see, all of these things may seem like simple, like choices that you can take or not take, but I'm trying to make it so simple for you to roll out your mat and be able to practice because you've taken care of everything else. Then your busy mind can say, okay, I'm in this environment, everything in my environment is controlled, I'm not going to be distracted, I've got my space clean, and I've curated my soundscape. Now you're actually ready to practice. And as you know, the biggest distraction that we all face is our phones. Our phone is like the one thing that has the entire world in it. So it's the biggest threat to a consistent, focused practice. Even if it's on silent, just the fact that it's there can create this cognitive load and can divide your attention. And I want you just to think of like a child. If you put a big bar of chocolate in front of a child, of course the child's going to eat it. It's going to take you far more self-control to like not look at your phone when you have it in the room just because you say, oh, I need it to for music or I need it to XYZ. If you just leave it in a different room, like you have to get up, get out of your mat, open a door, go into another door, grab the phone. Then it's going to be like creating a barrier between you and the phone. So whenever you practice, put your phone on charge in a different room. If you're going to use your laptop or an iPad or anything else that doesn't have all the social media distractions on it, that would be ideal. The level 2 of this is to leave your phone in your car. Now, I like to leave my phone sometimes in my car when I am really having like a busy morning and I know there's lots going on. I want to get like 3-4 hours of uninterrupted time to myself. I'll just go down, leave my phone in my car, lock it up, and then the just going down and opening my car and taking it out feels like such a like hurdle that I wouldn't want to cross it. I'll just get the work done and then go get my phone. And the last one is if you have to have it on you for whatever reason, make sure that at least it's on airplane mode and you've got it facing down so that you're not actually tempted to pick it up and use it. The quality of your attention during your practice is directly proportional to the distance between you and your digital devices. I cannot say this enough. Even if you ignore this, you're going to suffer and your practice is not going to be consistent if you're practicing with your phone next to you. So please listen, distance yourself from your phone, and it will help you build a consistent routine. Step number 6 is to leverage community support. So while your practice is this personal thing that you do for yourself, community provides the structure, the accountability, and the feedback that you need to grow in your practice and stay consistent in your practice. And I love the fact that yoga is not something that's seen as, you entirely needed to do it by yourself in a cave because you're a yogi now. It's much more become like this trend of going to a studio and meeting other people and becoming friends with them. And when you do this, when you find your tribe and you connect with others who share your practice, these simple anchors can dramatically increase your consistency because everyone is there through mutual accountability. Like you'll notice if you go to a class and there's only 5 people in that class, whenever you don't show up, you're almost like removing your energy from the 5 core people that are holding you accountable to coming to that class. And I have people in my classes that often check in on each other and say, why didn't you come to class? Like, what's happening with you? Even if I don't do it, they do it to themselves. And I think that is such a cool thing, because you're leveraging community support, and it's for you as well to check in on your friend who came to yoga last week but didn't come this week. It's important for you to create this environment for yourself where it doesn't feel like, oh, I'm just there and I'm leaving and I don't really know who's in my class. It's much more about supporting each other to build this consistent routine that's obviously going to have good effects in the rest of your life. The next way to leverage community support is to regularly check in with your teacher. Now, this is important because you'll keep being able to course correct, even if you've had a week or two where you've had to travel and you haven't been coming to classes, or you're going through something like, hard in your life. Checking in with your teacher regularly is important, even if it's just through a message, because you don't want to be reinforcing like bad habits that then create injury. You don't want to be stuck in a plateau and think, oh, this is not working for me, let me try something else. So it's really important to have a one-line connection with your teacher. And if you have too many teachers or don't have a teacher at all and you're practicing just with YouTube, this can be a problem. This is why it's important that my students check in with me, constantly tell me like where they are, how the course is helping them, what is happening in their lives, so that I can guide and help them kind of get back on the bandwagon, so to speak. Finally, the third way to leverage community support is to document and share your practice journey. Now, a lot of people struggle with this one because it feels like, oh, like, why should I share my wins? Like, am I bragging? Am I showing off? I think if you do this properly, you'll see that people really, really, really want you to succeed. They want to see you doing a headstand. They want to see you lift up from a backbend. And when you start posting pictures, it creates this kind of external accountability. And when you're going through a challenging period, your community will be but a group of people that actually come together to hold you through that challenging period. So do not underestimate the power of leveraging your community. Even in the challenging times, you've always got your yoga community. And the most consistent practitioners in the world are those who go to shalas regularly, who have an online community, who have this sense of structure and accountability and feedback, so that they don't quit too early. Number 7, keeping a sequence chart visible. Now, even if you know all the poses by heart and you know exactly what you're doing, I still like to keep a sequence chart visible so that I know, like in my head, all I need to do is complete that. It gives my mind this visual of completion, of this is the goal today, this is what I'm going to do today. And I'd even switch out the sequence charts and choose the sequence chart according to how I'm feeling today, and then say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is my curriculum for the day. I'm going to do the best I can and then move on. So if you don't do this, you'll have decision fatigue and you'll say, oh, maybe I should do more, maybe I should do less. And having this visual guide just eliminates the mental burden of deciding what to do next. So the benefits of having a sequence chart include that, you don't have decision paralysis, you don't check YouTube, you don't open anything else, you are practicing in a way that's balanced. So on any given day, you're practicing both the Surya Namaskars, the standing sequence, and the closing sequence, all in one complete session, and you're not just doing something that you like and avoiding things that you don't like. It also frees up the mental energy for being present rather than planning and thinking what comes next. Is this good for my hips? Do I need to add in more? Don't even give yourself that chance. Provide the structure and then just carry on until you feel like, oh, I can do a bit more. And even if you're not following a traditional sequence and you're doing your own routine, having that routine printed and visible, it will remove the cognitive load and you don't have to remember what comes next, and you can simply flow into the practice. Step number 8, setting time boundaries. Now, this is really important if you're a busy person and you've got lots to do on any given day. I like to keep a little clock or a watch or something that actually tells me this is how long I have to practice. Setting these clear time boundaries makes it easy for you to think of a practice as something that's manageable within your given schedule and also sustainable, because if you give yourself a window, so let's say before you start the day, you just decide this is the duration I have to practice. You determine exactly how long you're going to practice today. So if you say I'm going to practice for 20 minutes, then you only need to practice for 20 minutes. You set a timer, you're done, and then you walk out. If you have 90 minutes that morning, then use all 90 minutes, but you know the duration that you've set for yourself. So what matters is clarity, like knowing how long you're going to practice for, but not the length, not saying, like I need to practice for an hour and a half, 2 hours in order to feel the same way. If you're super present on the mat, even a 20-minute practice can be extremely beneficial on a busy day. So pre-decide your duration. And step number 2 is to accept completion. I used to struggle with this a lot, because even if, like, let's say I had only 30 minutes in the morning and I did like 15 sun salutations in those 30 minutes, sometimes I'll be like, oh my God, like I didn't do anything. I didn't do any real asanas. I didn't do any back bends. I didn't do all the hard stuff. So I'm a failure. But actually, it's in your head, it's understanding this practice is complete for the day. And giving yourself that sense of completion releases perfectionism and releases the sense that you're doing this practice to perform rather than to be present with yourself. And finally, you need to have a visual timer. Like I said, a visible clock or a timer helps to just maintain awareness of time. And this is what creates anxiety in us. Oh my gosh, I don't have enough time. I need to do the next thing. And if you can maintain your awareness, one part of your mind says, I still have 40 minutes. I have plenty of time. I'm going to go slowly. Then all you've got to do is practice for that time. You can also buy a sand timer because it's non-digital and doesn't distract your eyes in any way. But essentially, setting these time boundaries is important because you have to be consistent over a long period of time in order to see results. And consistency always trumps duration. So regular 20-minute practice every single day yields higher results and greater benefits than this occasional 90-minute, 2-hour practice that you can go to on a Sunday morning once a month or once in 2 months. But for me, I tell myself between 7 and 10, which is kind of like the time slot that I practice in usually, I'm going to practice. And in that time, whatever gets done, gets done. Whether it's 20 minutes or 90 minutes or 5 minutes, it doesn't matter. At least for that day, I've achieved completion, I've used a visual timer, I've got my clock next to me, and I pre-decide what I'm going to do. And then when I'm done, I just walk away and I know, okay, I've done my practice for the day. Given the busiest day, given the least busy day, whatever happens, I've done my practice and I can move on. Step number 9 is to establish firm boundaries. The reason I'm saying this is because even a single interruption can completely disturb you, it can derail your entire practice, and you'll not be consistent in the end. If you leave your room to do anything else, consider your practice done. Unless you're really, really good at coming back, doing breathworks, restarting again, doing Surya Namaskars again, and feeling the sense of, oh, I'm back to the place that I was, forget it. Like if you leave and you go check on something or you leave the room, you're very, very unlikely to come back and return to that state of same focus and momentum that you had before. So communicate clearly with your family or roommates if you're living in a dorm, and just tell them, this is my practice schedule during this time and this time I'm going to be practicing, so please don't disturb me. And you can even have just a closed door and lock your door so that people know this is your quiet time. And for me, like when I'm staying with my family, I know people will always want to be around me. So I wake up much earlier than most people. And then I would practice like 4:30 to 6:30, and then they're awake, and then I can hang out with them. Or, if you don't have that privilege, you can even do that late in the evening. And especially if you don't do this early on, if you don't fiercely protect your practice and you don't see it as this thing that is for you, you can't signal to others that this commitment matters really, really deeply to you, you're going to give in. You're going to go back into that place where everything else is more important than the thing that you're doing for yourself. So don't let not having boundaries derail you from practicing, because this can undermine your consistency in ways that you can't even see. You cannot let this you can't let this slip. This has to be a non-negotiable. Step number 10. This is to just fuel your body. So I sometimes feel really hungry if I'm practicing a little bit later in the morning, and I feel hungry, and that low energy can lead to feeling dizzy, feeling like distracted, and this can again significantly hinder your focus and your consistency. So ensure that your body has the right fuel, but you shouldn't feel heavy. So I'm not going to be eating breakfast before I practice. All I'm saying is like a maximum you can do is like a banana, some nuts, or like dates, whatever can provide like quick energy, but you shouldn't be burdening your digestive system. You see, like the body has this set amount of energy that it can allocate to whatever you want it to do. And if you give it a big meal, all those units of energy, it's just going to be directed towards digesting your food. So make sure that you don't eat right before you practice. But if you are practicing in a point where you obviously feel a little bit hungry, then opt for easily digestible small snacks that will keep you full for the time that you practice. Second thing is to consume a snack like at a strategic time before you start your practice. So I make sure that I'm eating something like 30 to 60 minutes before I start, and this then doesn't leave me feeling bloated or uncomfortable when I'm trying to like sit down for a while or move much faster through my Surya Namaskars. But just remember, if you practice at the same time every day, then you'll be fueling your body for dinner the previous night at a specific time, and then the next morning you'll be fueling your body right after your practice, and this removes a significant mental barrier so you can dedicate your full attention to the practice itself without hindering your focus and consistency. Step number 11, address mental clutter. Even when external distractions are minimized, your mind can be this big source of resistance, and it'll bring up all these thoughts, these creative ideas, all the things that you didn't reply to or didn't do. That becomes like the biggest internal mental clutter, and you've got to address it. The first thing, grab a blank piece of paper or even like a small journal. You can keep it nearby, that whenever something comes up, you can quickly jot it down and then get back to your practice. Now, this makes sure that you're not losing that thought, you're acknowledging that thought, but you're not letting it, like you're not following it. You're not saying, oh, if I need to write an email, I need to write the email now. You're acknowledging it, you're letting it sit, and then you're coming back to your practice. Before practice and after practice, a good ritual is to have like just free journaling. So if you're feeling particularly restless before you start your practice, just dedicate a few moments to journaling. This can empty your thoughts and it can create more space for you to focus during your session. And even after your practice, lots of ideas and things will come up. You can journal and just free write without stopping for one page. And this over time helps you kind of notice, how am I feeling in my body after my practice? Can I try and take the same calm, focus, and mental clarity through the rest of my day? And by giving these thoughts an outlet, you free your mind to fully engage with your practice without the burden of all these things that you haven't resolved yet. And unresolved tasks and unresolved thoughts, they are actually the main thing that distract you, that derail you, and that keep you in this state of franticness. So remember, resolving them doesn't mean you're acting on them right now. Resolving them just means you're able to shelve them, put them away, and then you can come and revisit them in that particular time of the day where you've allocated to dealing with that stuff. So just remember, practice time is sacred. Address your mental clutter through journaling, and keep like a piece of paper next to you while you're practicing, so that anything that comes up, it's really important, then it goes into a physical notebook or a piece of paper. Step number 12, optimizing your practice temperature. Now, everything in our environment, especially like, feeling too cold or feeling too hot, can derail you from practicing comfortably. So maintaining an ideal body temperature is crucial for a focused practice. Extremes in temperature can distract you. It can even cause injury if you're practicing in a really, really cold place and you're trying to do advanced asanas really quickly. And basically what it'll do is it'll pull you away from being able to focus on your breath and your movement, because you'll be too cold or too hot, and that isn't a pleasant starting point, right? So tip number 1 is to dress in layers. Begin your practice with a jersey with an extra layer, and then remove them after you finish the standing sequence, or even after you finish the sun salutations. And this allows you to kind of regulate the temperature throughout the session, but you don't have to get up and walk away and kind of give up. You just dress in layers so you're prepared for it. Step number 2 is just to Control your environment. In the colder months, consider practicing near like any gentle heat source, like a fireplace, or you can use a heater. Just a few minutes before you start, you can warm the room, and then practicing becomes much easier. And the final one is to prioritize your warm up. The primary goal is to generate internal heat through the Ujjayi breath. So, embracing gentle movements at the start of your practice, just like your spinal warm ups, activating Ujjayi breath, this can raise your core temperature naturally. And even if you don't have a heat source, even if you don't have jerseys next to you, you can still prioritize just heating up from the inside through Ujjayi breath, bandhas, and staying super still and steady without losing too much energy initially. Then when you go into the Surya Namaskars, you'll see, wow, I'm moving the energy, I'm generating the heat through the practice. And this then helps you stay completely focused on your breath and your movement rather than worrying about whether it's too hot or too cold. So a body at a comfortable temperature is better able to relax, is better able to stretch, and this will enhance the way that you feel about your practice. And ultimately, that's what we're trying to do with all of these steps, is to help you get to a place where you feel good about practicing. And if you eliminate all these barriers, then you'll feel much better. You can allow the yoga to do its thing. Step number 13, prioritize bathroom breaks. I know it might seem obvious, and at this point you're probably just like, do you really need to tell me that I need to use the loo? Unfortunately, I'm just eliminating every possible distraction, and one of them is just that we need a biological break. So by addressing these physiological needs before practice, then we can maintain this unbroken focus and flow. So even a minor discomfort can become like this big distraction if we allow it to be. Why is this so important? It's important because we need to have this uninterrupted flow. Even the smallest physiological urge can break your concentration, and it'll pull you out of your presence into the state of just feeling uncomfortable. So make sure that you've done all of that stuff before you step on the mat. And then you can enhance your focus as well, right? Like eliminating these types of distractions allows your mind to remain entirely dedicated to your breath, your movement, and also your internal state. And this is what we really want to capture, is that it's not so much about what we're doing with the asanas themselves. It's about creating this internal state in us through the practice that we can tap into at any time in the day. And by connecting to that internal state instead of anything else external, the more time we have with that internal state, the better we'll be able to translate that into the rest of our lives. And finally, it's about forming a good habit. And so, be strict with yourself. Make it this non-negotiable part of your pre-practice routine. And it signals to your body to comply, to be like, okay, we've decided to do a practice and we're not going to break this dedicated focus. So a clear mind and a comfortable body are prerequisites for a truly deep and consistent yoga practice. Step number 14 is to tie your hair. I know most of us who practice yoga are women, so even if you're a man and you have gorgeous long hair, that's amazing. The important thing is to tie it up. A simple, often overlooked step that can significantly enhance your practice. It's just to secure your loose hair. So it can be a constant source of irritation and distraction, and it's going to pull your focus away from your breath and your movement. So I was practicing in this beautiful retreat center. It's called Purple Valley in Goa in India. And we actually had Ashtanga hair workshop by this chick who's a hairdresser. She was also part of the participants, and she showed us how to plait our hair in such a way that it doesn't come into our face. I should try and make a tutorial for you, but basically it's to make sure that the hair isn't on your face. And by eliminating distraction, you can actually see that, wow, for the entire duration of the practice, I'm able to have uninterrupted visual and mental focus. And secondly, I think it actually enhances your hygiene because, when you're sweating and your hair is getting sweaty, then it feels icky. So for better skin health, so that your hair doesn't fall all over your face and you're actually feeling more hygienic about it, do tie up your hair. And finally, it's when you're doing headstand or you're moving around a lot, if your hair is caught in the wrong place in a pose, this has happened before, this will kind of your whole mind will be on that, the hair getting pulled. So make sure that it's tied up, it's away from your face in whatever way that you choose depending on your hair length. But just remember, by securing your hair, you're paying attention to one more of those small tiny details that's easily preventable, that won't make you get up and go find another hair tie or go find another extra hair clip as you're practicing, because we want to establish this deep concentration and ensure that our session feels comfortable. And one of those things is just tie your hair, girl. 15, final one, is to set up your camera. Now, this is completely optional. That's why I put it all the way at the very end. But if you are like filming your practice, it can be an invaluable tool for growth, for feedback, and to also motivate yourself to keep practicing. So when you record yourself, it feels like a part of you doesn't want to, like, appear silly on camera or appear like, you're distracted on camera. So it's a good way to kind of, if no one else is there, to force yourself to, at least for the sake of getting it on camera, to practice throughout, like one uninterrupted flow practice. I think the coolest thing is that it provides a visual record of your journey. It also reveals insights that you might not have otherwise seen, because it's one thing to look at a mirror while you're practicing, but it's also another thing to see how you're changing over time. So the first thing is obviously, when you look at your own practices, you can refine your alignment. You can see, wow, like, this is what I look like. I should be changing this. And lots of people feel shocked when I send them like screenshots or videos of their own practice, because when we're practicing in a group class, it's often hard for us to get that kind of self-correction, standing outside of yourself to see yourself in the shape and correct yourself. So this is a cool way to introduce some of that visual feedback. And the second thing is that you can easily share recordings with your teacher, and then I can give you personalized critique and like audit your pose in a way so that I can kind of give you things that you can see outside of when you're in the shape. And finally, it's also cool to share your journey on social media, because it inspires others to be like, wow, like, if she can do it, having just had a surgery, having just been through like childbirth, having just gone through so much, then maybe I can do it. So you're actually helping others to start their yoga journey by doing this. So by capturing your practice, you create an objective mirror for self-study and a tangible record of your dedication from when you started to where you are right now. I do recommend that you don't always record your practice, or that it doesn't become this distraction where you're putting on makeup and you're taking extra time because you need to film your practice. It can be sometimes, it can be some sections, but just remember, you want to set up your camera and whatever you want to do before you get on the mat, so that you're not looking for a charger, you're not looking for your phone and bringing it back into the room. So don't do it every single time. Do it on days when you already have a certain bit of like, oh, I'm feeling confident that I can focus. Then you try and bring your camera into the room. It does do two things. It can either distract you more, or it can help you kind of like perform in a way, but in a good way, because then you won't get up and leave. So keep that in mind. And that was your 15 steps to staying consistent on your yoga practice. So to cultivate a truly consistent and fulfilling practice, try and integrate these essential steps into your routine. Each point contributes to minimizing distractions and maximizing your focus. So just make sure that you don't miss even one of them. I'm just going to go over them quickly. Step number 1 is to clean your room, then clean your mat, and remember to purify your space. Put some light music on, distance yourself, put your phone in another room. Make sure that you're either practicing with your teacher or your online community, or, with family, whatever you have to leverage community support. Step number 7 is to have a visual cue for what you have to do. Step number 8 is to set a time boundary. So make sure that you can see when you finish your practice. So from this time to this time, all you're doing is practicing. Step number 9 is to establish firm boundaries with your family, your roommates, so that you have this uninterrupted time. Step number 10 is to make sure that you're fueling your body so that you're not hungry as you practice. Step number 11 is to address the mental clutter by having a journal next to you that you can jot down any urgent thoughts that come to your mind. Step number 12 is to optimize your practice temperature. This one's an important one for me. I need to make sure that I'm warm enough. So make sure you're practicing in layers, or you're practicing by a heat source so that you warm up your body and you don't quit because it's too cold. Step number 13 is to make sure you use the low before you practice so that you have it all handled and then you can completely concentrate on your practice. Next is to tie up your hair. This just prevents all the hair from falling in your face and distracting you. And lastly is to set up your camera so that you can see yourself practicing and you can kind of help others also, inspire some others to be like, try yoga, do this, it might just help. So by consciously preparing your environment, your body and mind, you're building a sanctuary for your practice that supports this kind of deep consistency, and it will make each practice a transformative experience. So this isn't just about showing up, it's about showing up fully prepared to engage with the practice. I hope this video was helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.